What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back with another week, another live stream for you guys. If you've noticed from the title, we don't have, clever little, phrase, turn of phrases or quippy little titles for the news items because we don't really have them, or we couldn't think of anything, or nothing like from the news cycle like really, really jumped out at us, as it were, or riled us up enough for us to have some sort of commentary. So. Tonight, we're just gonna have some fun, a little decompressing, maybe a rant or two here and there. But again, nothing like really set in stone, except for, of course, the movie review, which again, to remind you, the theme of this month is East versus West. And we're actually, I think this is the last one.
I'm a little sad by that, but yeah.
For this month.
We saved the best for last.
We saved the best for last. And tonight's movie review will be Yojimbo and A Fistful of Dollars.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and just as Rob said, Yojimbo's become like one of my favorite just movies in general.
It's fantastic.
I would definitely have it within my top 10 list.
Yeah, I think I have it like number 7.
Yeah, just like storytelling wise and visuals, it's the tits, man. It's the tits. But yeah, we'll get into all of that later down the line tonight. But yeah, I mean, I guess So tonight's a little bit of a free form. So I guess I won't keep us to like the normal conventions of us doing 15 minutes or whatever of catching us up on our weekends or whatnot.
Well, most of the weekend we spent together, I think. So
this is true. Yes, we have indeed. We kind of started the weekend off a little earlier because we met up on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, Wednesday was kind of a special occasion because one of our friends, he kind of reemerged out of hibernation or whatnot. We haven't seen, we probably haven't seen this guy in like at least 2 years.
At least.
And I'm talking like in person. I mean, every once in a while we'll get like the stray communication, via text or something, but. Actually, like being in the same room with this guy, it's probably at least 2 years.
At least, which is but it was good to see him. It's funny. We had all you could eat sushi, and both Andy and I needed to be rolled out the door almost.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about rolled out the door, but I definitely needed, I needed to be supported. As I made my trotting steps, slowly out the door.
Yeah.
But I mean, even though it was all you can eat, we kind of we did the rookie mistake of just ordering what we would want to eat, and so we didn't coordinate with anybody, and so we literally got mountains and mountains of food. Like the food just kept coming in in waves. And at first it was okay because it was like, oh, cool, yeah, let's eat. And then we're like eating, we're happy, you're having a good time, and all of a sudden more food. It's like, oh, okay, and then and then all of a sudden another wave of food. It's like, and then we start kind of getting worried. It's like, oh, Jesus, to the point where people started tapping out, and all the all you can eat places, they will penalize you if you don't finish your food.
Yes.
Particularly the rice. I don't know why, because rice is like the cheapest thing, the cheapest food possible.
Yeah, I
I understand. I understand if you don't eat all the fish, But if you don't eat all the rice, it's just like, how much did you pay for that rice?
Bingo. But it's okay. Like I understand. It's the policy. Whatever.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
okay, just thinking about it a little more deeply, it might also do like, because the rice isn't just rice; it's sushi rice. So
yeah,
because there's probably rice vinegar and sugar, and some sort of, and probably like some uh like some amount of like kombu broth in it as well. So there is I guess like there is a price also for
right,
all the to make the sushi rice, not just regular rice.
right.
But even still, then just like those things I listed, it's like it's such a minimal cost. But again, it's not really worth bringing it. It's not really worth like making a fuss over.
But no, it was fun. This is, and we went. You and I went back yesterday. This particular all you can eat. My wife works there,
Yep.
so it's just for like we've eaten there, or I've eaten there 3 times in the last like couple of weeks.
Hmm.
Um, so it's
Yeah.
just kind of,
Yeah. For me, it was my second time.
yeah, it's funny because every time I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I've had my fill for sushi for a little while, and then you guys were hanging out. I actually wasn't gonna hang out on Wednesday because I was exhausted
Right.
on that
Um.
Wednesday, and then you called me. And it's like, hey, what's the place where your wife works? That sushi place, and it's like, yeah, I think we're all gonna go there. And it's like, you want to, and you kind of asked me, do I want to come? I'm like, well, all right, I'll go. I'll go.
Yeah. No.
So
I mean, yeah, because like, yeah, going to the restaurant where Rob's wife works. It was completely spontaneous because we were actually gonna meet up at we actually did meet up at another bar or whatever, and we went there specifically because of try to get happy hour, but in times of COVID, a lot of bars aren't doing happy hours because it's not it's cost prohibitive.
yeah,
Because see, they're not able to open at full capacity and like because of like the supply disruptions, they're not able to like serve everything on their menu or whatever, and so yeah, doing happy hour for a bar is not economically feasible. um yeah, but then in conversation, you came up, and then also we revealed to our friend that you and your wife had gotten married, and it's like, oh, what? Yeah, crazy. And then um what was it? Uh, wait, I'm trying to get the sequence of events accurate. Um, and so, oh yeah, they asked like why, because your wife really wanted to come and hang out,
yeah,
but unfortunately she had to work, and then so they're asking, oh, why couldn't she work? Or why couldn't she come hang out? And it's like, oh, because of work. And then I said, oh yeah, yeah. And then she just started at this new sushi place. And they're like, oh really? It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's up.
everyone's ears perked up.
Yeah, everyone's ears kind of like pricked up. It's like, yeah, it's all you can eat, and and it's like relatively close by to where the first bar that we were at, and so the kind of wheels started kind of turning. It's like, oh, should we just go there? And so yeah, and like that's the reason why I called you to make sure uh, that your wife was working at the restaurant and not door dashing, because she just said that she had to work. And I mean, at the time, like prior I thought that I thought that she was gonna go DoorDash, but but yeah, it wasn't until I learned that she got that new job that
But yeah, so it all worked out. So we had a fun night on Wednesday.
mhm,
I had to duck out early because of work, and
right.
then
Yeah, I did the Korean thing and did like I did the rounds. Um, For
Either.
those of you unfamiliar, and particularly in Korean business culture, um, when you go out, for a on the town for like drinks or whatever with your coworkers, it's never just like you go to one place and then you're through. It's just like you go and drink and get smashed, and then you go get some food to help you sober up, and then you go to karaoke and then get smashed again, and then you go eat again, and then you go and eat again to sober up, and so it's like there's like rounds,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that night I went 3 rounds because I went to the first bar that we planned to go to, and then we went to the sushi restaurant, and then we had drinks there too, and then after uh your wife really wanted to hang out, so me and the friend we haven't seen in 2 years practically, um, decide well, because his schedule allowed for it and my schedule allowed for it, so we went and hung out with her afterwards at another bar after she got off of work like around like almost 11.
Yeah.
Because she lied to us because she said that she was getting off at 10, but then but it ended up being closer to 11.
Oh, Lord.
Um,
That's why you guys were back so late. Okay.
yeah, exactly. So it's all your wife's fault.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I did 3 rounds that night, and but it was it was a good time. It was a good time. Yeah, it was good. It was good seeing our friend. Yeah, I think it looked like he lost some weight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he looked good. I mean,
Yeah. I
he
mean, not
drinks.
like in a bad way, but he just looked because from what I remember, he wasn't fat, but he was a little more filled out. But he was pretty like thin though when we
Yeah.
saw him on Wednesday. So I don't know, like yeah, some people like it, the, when people talk about polarization during this time, you know, uh, there's also the polarization of weight because some people get like the COVID-19, and or some people are like losing weight, and I think our friend is definitely on the side of losing weight.
That's a good thing for him.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I think I am the outlier because I have maintained my weight. Like I haven't gained weight, but I haven't like really lost a lot either. So
um, yeah. So that was a lot of fun. And then we recorded on Saturday,
that's right.
and then I saw you again on Sunday.
Right.
What did we end up doing on Sunday? I forgot.
We went and had dinner at the Italian restaurant.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We had scheduled something, a dinner for
Yeah,
like a month
beforehand.
ago. We did
Yeah,
that. That was a lot of
again,
fun.
something. Yeah, doing of your wife's.
Yeah, and then
Um,
yesterday.
yeah, and
Uh,
then after, yeah, you had to take up because you were going into work late.
yeah,
But
yeah.
me, your wife, and another friend
Went karaoke
went to
for.
karaoke, and it was really funny because your wife, yeah, your wife was getting a little jealous of me and the other friend because we were like duetting it up, and then
Yeah, she told me.
and both of us can sing, so it was a rare occasion for both of us actually, really, to sing duets, and kind of and it was fun, and it was fun, and it was funny because your wife was acting like very jealous, like, oh, like, so fine, next time I just won't come, and you guys can just sing by yourselves and have fun.
Shit, yeah.
uh,
She was telling me about that. She was like, "Oh, I guess I'll just hang over here by myself." Like whatever.
yeah. Yeah, it was funny. I mean, she said it in Korean, so it was like a lot. It was a lot. It was almost like the Ricky Ricardo effect, where when Ricky
Yep.
gets like really angry, he defaults to Spanish and just like
Mhm.
so fast, like it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, same deal with your wife. She just gets into Korean, it's like, oh, like but in Korean she was saying like, you guys having so much fun. Maybe next time I just won't come. He's like, so you two can have all the fun by yourselves.
Yeah. So yeah, that happened, and then yesterday we ended up doing dinner again.
Mm-hmm.
We ate sushi again,
Mm-hmm.
um, and hang out with the same friend that you hung out with on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and of course we also had a chance to watch. Well, actually, I watched a couple movies on Monday. Uh, I ended up watching a Richard Gere film called Primal Fear, which was very interesting. A lot of twists and turns in that one. And then
Mm-hmm.
we watched another movie that we're going to be reviewing next week, actually, which I'd been wanting you to watch for
Oh,
like
is
a
it next
really
week?
long. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
start of June, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we kind of got it. I was like, hey, do you want to get a head start on next month's reviews? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
is that
the other movie you had suggested, I think we both watched prior. And then, but then you mentioned the other movie, the movie intended for next week.
yeah,
And so I was like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, why don't we just watch that? You know?
yeah? Because I
Plus,
was
because
initially
I
gonna
know
have
you've
it.
seen it before, but I haven't seen it, so it
Yeah.
was
Oh, it's a
but it was a
great
good movie. It
movie.
was very fun. Yeah, we're not gonna get into it right now, but all I say is I enjoyed it. And if
Yeah.
you want to, and if you want the full breadth, full breadth of my thoughts, then tune in next week.
Yes, sir. Um, but yeah, and this morning I started watching Once Upon a Time in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Joyce was kind of like not feeling great, so I ended up staying home to take care of her. So
Mm-hmm.
while I was doing some chores around the house, I started watching Once Upon a Time in the West, which is also it's funny. It's funny. Our movie that we're reviewing tonight is from Fistful of Dollars. Is a Sergio Leone picture, and this movie is also from Sergio Leone. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a spaghetti western, but it's not the. It's a good one. It's freaking long though. It's almost 3 hours, but
Mm.
it stars, a lot of like big name stars like Henry Fonda and Charles Bronson. Um, so it's not just some, you know, you know, throw together picture. It's really actually a lot of people talk about this as being one of the best westerns out
Mm-hmm.
there. It just happens to be filmed by an Italian production company.
Mm.
Because I think a lot of times, like when you're talking about like westerns, like people kind of like, oh, I hate those stupid spaghetti westerns. Like they're kind of derided. It's like, I mean, yeah, there are. I mean, there's always gonna be like crappy movies in any genre,
Mm-hmm.
but the really good ones are really good. It's just it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter that they weren't made in this country. The one of the ones that we're
Right.
talking about today is
I
one of
think
the
it's like, yeah, I think it's a point of pride, real like the spaghetti westerns. It's a point of pride because much like if say, oh, I don't know, if Germany made a samurai movie,
yeah,
or it's a point of pride because it's like westerns, western, cowboys and Indians and all that stuff. It's a very American thing, and so to have another country take a crack at it, it's almost sacrilege, kind of like how I just mentioned that if Germany decided that they're going to make a samurai epic, you kind of cry, a lot of people kind of cry foul on that.
damn
So
those
I think
samurai
I think
movies.
that's yeah. So I think, but yeah, I think I think that's why spaghetti westerns are lambasted or or decried so much.
Maybe. I've always wondered that because, like I said, even in like a lot of like pop culture, or like when shows are talking about westerns, or just yeah, like it's just always it's never like, man, those this is a really good spaghetti western. No, it's usually they're always usually very derided. It's like, and back before, like I was obviously we were doing movie reviews. I didn't really understand like what was I thought like all like westerns. Oh, it was just like some run of the mill western. They just call them spaghetti westerns because it's just like spaghetti is very
Ah,
common. That's what I thought, and then I
yeah.
realized like
Yeah, kind of like you didn't know like the actual meaning of behind like fossil fuels.
yeah, exactly that's but so I was like because a lot of times people say oh I hate those damn like spaghetti John Wayne westerns. I'm like so I thought it was just it's just because he's in so many that's so common just like spaghetti is here in this country. So that's what I thought, and it didn't come until later. I was like, oh, it's a spaghetti western because it's filmed in like kind of in Italy or like
Right,
from an
or like the director's Italian, or most of the production crew is mostly Italians, or
right, and so I was like, oh, okay, that's okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
And but then I've been watching like quite a few of them, for I've watched all of the Man with No Name trilogy with starting with Fistful of Dollars. I watched all those as a kid,
Hmm.
but I rewatched them again for the sake of the review. And then I did like that. I just started watching Once Upon a Time in Once Upon a Time in the West. What other one did I see? Death Rides a Horse. So
Hmm.
there's quite a few out there that are really good. And I mean, if anyone's watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's kind of the Leo DiCaprio's character is kind of on the low end of he's on the back, kind of the downside of his
Yeah, he's on the
career.
last page of his page of his career, not his life, but his
Right.
career. But it's
And
interesting that his career kind of gets reinvigorated through spaghetti westerns.
well, exactly, and that's the thing is like there's a lot of guys that like came kind of their stardom kind of fell, and they're just trying to get work. They want to act, and hey, American companies are calling, but this guy in Italy wants me to work. Okay,
Hmm.
I'll be in that movie. Like for a great example is like Lee Van Cleef. He got kind of he rose back into somewhat a little bit of stardom through thanks to Sergio Leone with a few dollars more because he was pretty much done in the
Hmm.
U.S.
Hmm.
and he became much because of that series he became popular again. And he was in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He was in like I said, Death Rides a Horse, and he became popular again. And he was
Hmm.
very thankful that he got that work and his name was in at least being talked about. So yeah, you get the guys that are on the downside of their career and they think it's like, oh well, you're never coming back to the US, like you're never going to be a star again. Or you get a lot of guys that's where they started their career from. And the reason, the movie that we're going to be talking about today, this is the reason that Clint Eastwood is a huge star, or at least was a huge star in Hollywood. It's because of this movie. Well, in the whole trilogy, to be honest. But this is where people got their start, or like they were on the downside of their career and they resurrected their career almost. So I don't really see these movies as just being like just this crappy westerns. Like a lot of them are fucking awesome. And some people would say even some of the best films of all time.
Mm.
Although, actually, I'm gonna go back on your idea of Germany doing samurai movies just for alliteration purposes. You'd call them sauerkraut samurai movies.
There it is. There you go. Yeah, sauerkraut samurai films. Yeah.
Dude, I
Right.
would.
Yeah, spaghetti westerns and sauerkraut samurais.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
I know,
Uh,
right? um,
so
but
those are just my thoughts on, because I mean, the spaghetti western is kind of like a subgenre of the western.
yeah.
'Cause there's so many different types. There's so
Hmm.
many like little subgenres, um, and it's a genre that has really started to become one of my favorites. I see why they're so popular and why so many of like the big stars of the day starred in westerns, and even like some of the current day ones that are being filmed, which are not necessarily as popular, or it's not a genre that they're constantly
Well,
pumping.
yeah,
But a
yeah. I
lot of
mean, I
these are.
think the movie that I'm sorry, continue.
Oh no, I'm just saying is that there's not like westerns are not being pumped out like they were in like the 50s and 60s and
Right,
what have you. But it's still like a very popular genre, and the people that are in those westerns are like the big stars of the day. So it's always been a genre that big name stars are in.
right. Well, yeah. Well, and what I was about to point out was, westerns were like the comic book films of their day, and I mean, I think the movie that and I think kind of having some self awareness. The movie Logan, makes that connection very obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, with like because they talk about the movie Shane. Um, and even in that movie, there's a little bit of self awareness too, because like Shane, you guys, I mean,
That
if you
was the
guys
movie
aren't.
that they were watching together, wasn't it? Weren't they watching Shane in that movie?
Yeah, yeah, they're watching Shane, and but also, what is it? The whole premise of Shane is like this kind of like gunslinger who tries to retire, but he gets pulled back in because um, what is it like some village is being harassed by some bandits or whatever, and so it's like he can never leave that life, because he's always just gonna, because he's known because like the main character of Shane, he was known as a gunfighter, and so like wherever he go, like he'd always get like a challenge, so like he could never find rest.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but just like and then kind of like tying into the film, the narrative of that film Logan is like kind of like Wolverine. He for all intent, he's a warrior, and he can never find his rest. And the only rest that he'll ever get is death. Um,
Actually, there's
but then
obviously there.
also, but then to also make a tie-in real quickly is that Hugh Jackman made his career off playing Wolverine. Again, like the modern day equivalent of the Western, like kind of like how Clint Eastwood made his career by playing the Man with No Name, or John Wayne made his career by playing a cowboy. I mean, arguably he played himself, but he was playing cowboys.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well, and then I would even say like just God, I haven't seen Shane in forever, but just thinking about that is like Shane and like and to me westerns and samurai movies just go hand in hand. But I think that's
right.
why both are
I
so
mean, they're practical.
popular.
They're in all intents and purposes the same thing. I mean,
Yeah,
yes, like samurais happened like more than 500 years prior to like modern Japan.
yeah,
Um, but whereas westerns were relatively closer in time from when the West was the West, and when movies first became a thing. But yeah, but in terms of like the cultural significance, yeah, they're the same thing.
yeah. The well, because and then talking about Shane and like just kind of like a guy that just wants like to rest and like kind of just not be a warrior anymore. It kind of reminds me of a lot of like the Zatoichi movies, where you have this guy who the blind wandering swordsman, and to be honest, all he wants to do is just kind of like live in peace. And every like it's as if you when you watch the movies in sequential order, you see the toll that the all the killing that he's kind of like forced into, how much of a toll it takes on his soul, and he just wants like to be at peace.
Hmm.
And a lot of like his close friends or people he befriends like that die because either at his hand or through the course of the series. Like you just see like he goes from kind of like being more of like kind of this like kind of upbeat kind of guy to he becomes a very dark character.
Mm.
You can
Yeah.
tell
Well,
it.
I haven't seen the totality of the Zatoichi
No, I'm still. I, like I
franchise.
made it. I've made it up to.
Well, I mean, like in comparison to you, in comparison to you.
Oh yeah, I've made it up to like
Yeah, but
9.
what you said, yeah, like in like the first movie that I saw with you, yeah, he seemed like really happy, and he was just he was like totally hustling some guys in the gambling parlor, and he's like
Yeah,
really happy, and like like he went to go visit like his friend, like a yakuza boss, but it turns out like that the friend was only inviting him there and like treating him real nice so that he can like go fight for him, essentially be a hired sword.
yeah.
um but then the second one, or is that still the first one? I can't remember.
Well, now,
It's the
yeah.
one where he has
Well,
to
it's very
kill
much
the guy. Is that the same
the
movie?
which one?
The one where he has to kill that other like really good swordsman. Is that the same movie in the
That's
first
in the
one?
first movie. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But he
um
does so because I don't think you've seen the second one. So because
no,
they're
the only
the
other
first and
Zatoichi
second,
one is the Zatoichi versus Yojimbo.
that was actually film number 20.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but like but like going to like Zatoichi, like the second movie, like
Uh-huh.
the very next one in the series
Uh-huh.
is it's like a year after the events of the first one that you watched with me.
Uh-huh.
And he go because at the end of the movie he makes a vow to come back 1 year later to like kind of go and visit his the swordsman that he had befriended that he had to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And through the course of the events, like he's kind of like dealing with like the same characters, and you can tell like the toll that killing that swordsman, like in his, like that had become his friend,
Uh-huh.
uh, took on him. And through the course of events, like you have people that are trying to kill him, um, for it's, and because of that, like it bothers him. It's like I don't, he does because it was nothing of his own doing, but
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of like forced to protect himself. He doesn't want to die, so
All
but he's
right.
forced to protect himself and kill. And you can tell like it like someone sucks out his soul in a lot of ways. And I
Right. I
just found
mean, in a way, it's kind of like the idea of like suicide by cop. It's like the cop doesn't want to shoot the person, but it's like it's either him or either him or the cop or the other guy, and the
yeah,
cop's gonna pick himself.
bingo. And that same thing with Zatoichi. Like he kind of just he's choosing himself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's that'll be something like I really do want to go get through the entire series of movies and just kind of watch them in back to back order. They're
Uh-huh.
not none of them are like all that long. Only like an hour and a half. But that's a over a full day's worth of like watching movies. Like it's just it's a long endeavor.
Uh-huh.
But it's definitely one I want to take up. And then there's a few remakes of the Zatoichi series, and apparently there was a television show too, with the
Mm.
same, because the guy that played Zatoichi, I mean that was what made him famous. That's what he's known for. He's been
Mm-hmm.
in a few other things, but like that was his baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, it's just it's fun kind of exploring like some of these like new genres that I've been kind of when I was a kid, I never understood like why my grandfather loved westerns so much. But as
Mm-hmm.
I've matured and I look at these movies in a critical lens now, it's like I get why he loved them so much. And and my
Mm-hmm.
grandfather loved some of the greatest ones. Like you said, we're not talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly, but that was, well, I think, one of his favorite films. He likes Stagecoach, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Uh, what other movie did he really like? Oh, he also loved like good, like he liked cop movies too. Like I mean, he loved Dirty Harry so much.
Mm-hmm.
He's he constantly like quoted like Dirty Harry lines all the time. It was
Mm-hmm.
just. He also loved Lawrence of Arabia. That was one of his favorite movies too, which is a great movie.
Yeah, we reviewed it.
Yeah. And like I said, at the time, like I didn't really understand like the why that movie was like why I liked it so much, but um, I guess that's one of those things as you mature and get older. I guess I better understand like why my grandfather liked certain things,
Mm.
why he enjoyed solitude and just like wanting to be away from civilization.
Hmm.
I totally get that. But even like as far as movies go, because we've really only scratched we haven't even scratched the surface and with like the depth of great movies that are out there.
Hmm.
um but it's I'm really I'm enjoying kind of digging into the well of movies. We've seen a few bad ones. Well, I mean, I've in my personal life I've seen a lot of horrible ones that I love, but
Oh yeah,
as
no
far as our
doubt
reviews
there.
Yeah, but as far as our reviews go, I outside of like maybe like a handful, I can't really think of like too many bad movies that we watched.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's hard for me to think, but the only like standout like really like bad movie
Mad
was
Max.
Mad Max, of course.
And I'm like,
Because
now I'm gonna
again, you can't be a dystopia and have ice cream. I'm sorry, that's just the rule.
now I'm almost gun shy because I do want to see the rest of the Mad Max series because I know it gets better, but at the same
Yeah,
time, I'm like
yeah. I mean, I remember
very
watching
young to
Thunderdome
know.
as a kid, and yeah, that was a great movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
even as a pre-adolescent, I understood the awesomeness that was Mad Max. Beyond Thunderdome.
and I've even heard well, at least the new one, the game that was made for Fury Road or whatever the newest one was. I
Mm-hmm.
heard that's actually a really fantastic game.
Mm.
But yeah, like the only ones I would say like the ones that I really did not like that we reviewed,
Mm.
where it's like was Mad Max, American Beauty, and Leaving Las Vegas. Those are the three
Oh
that really.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah. That's right.
Those are the three that stand out to me. Where I was just like, "What the hell?" Like it's just
Yeah,
they were
and
not
you know what?
great.
I would dare put American Gigolo in there too.
American Gigolo is almost a good movie. It's not, but it's almost a good movie.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's why I kind of want to put it in the category of bad movies, but it's like it's not as awful as those three that that were mentioned, but it's just like it wasn't like that great either.
Yeah, because it's funny because I didn't realize that that well Deuce Bigelow that movie is a parody of American Gigolo, and I'll be
Yeah.
honest, Deuce Bigelow is a way better movie. Like,
Yeah, it's funny because it's as though of course it had to be a parody to be a good movie because like the concept of like a male prostitute, it's like it's hilarious.
yeah, what would have been hilarious though, just based on that, like, oh, it's a parody. Is the guy that he ends up that Rob Schneider's character takes over?
Uh-huh.
It should have been Richard Gere. I wish they had put Richard Gere in that
Oh
spot.
man, that would have been so perfect. That would have been
That
so
would have
perfect.
been that would make that movie go from like being good to great.
Yes, yeah, because like, it just like adds another like layer of like self awareness. Um,
Yeah,
because yeah, like of course, like it should have been Richard Gere.
yeah.
Um,
But hey,
But I mean,
it's
yeah, just like, and it's like the like, and but then it's like it's also kind of like unrealistic because it's like not to say that women aren't like you know don't have sex drives or like aren't like visual creatures because some could be, but you know that the majority of male prostitutes are doing gay stuff.
yeah. Well, I mean, that was the whole thing. Is like um well, Richard Gere's character in American Gigolo, it was always going after like the cougars, like kind of like the
Yeah,
old women.
yeah, yeah. yeah, the
He's like, "Oh,
well-to-do women who are like in loveless marriages, or they have, or they have an understanding with like their husband, like, they're just in there for the money, and like, the husband is off like screwing their secretaries, and so why shouldn't the wife? And, he had a very selective clientele.
right." And then like when he was down on his luck, he's like, "All right, fine. I'll do the gay stuff. Like I'll do whatever you need." And it's like, which is what most of the male prostitutes were doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
like that idea that Hugh Hefner created Playgirl for women. It's like, no, it was for dudes. It was for gay dudes.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of the idea behind like Midnight Cowboy too. I mean, it's like
Mm.
where you have this guy that's like he's trying to become like the male prostitute going after girls, but like in reality, that's no girls going at wants him. It's all gay dudes.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because like okay, because if a woman wants sex, like even like even like the not very attractive ones, all they have to do is go to a guy and say, "Hey, you want to have sex?" That's
Most
literally
guys
all they
would
have
be
to
like,
do.
yeah, duh,
Exactly, that's all they have to do. And it doesn't even matter if the girl's not that attractive.
yeah. But yeah, it doesn't doesn't work the
So
other way.
yeah, so the idea that a woman needs to pay for sex is just it's just laughable. It honestly is. I
Yeah,
mean, if you want, say, like some, because I understand like women have different needs, and so like maybe like safety is a thing, and so like they don't want to bang like a diseased husk of a human being. So maybe they'll shell out a little more. Maybe they'll shell out for like a little higher end, so to make sure it's clean down there and whatnot.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
beyond that, if a woman wanted to have sex, a woman does not have to pay for it. Much like most things in life, a woman does not have to pay for
Yeah. Oh man.
it. Oh,
But well, I mean,
anyways.
I think I think it's very fitting that we're talking about this though, because our next month, like our theme is leftovers month. So we're kind of we're going back and we're retreading themes, movie themes that we've talked about in the past that we
Mhm.
feel like obviously like there's so many movies and the particular themes that we're choosing from or re-choosing.
Mhm.
Um, but it's just the way it worked out this year because we've been kind of figuring out our list of movies to watch, and I thought it would be kind of fitting to go back and revisit some genres that I think kind of deserve it, and yeah, just getting a chance to go back and it's like, oh, good, we get to watch this movie and we get to watch this movie and talk about it. Which I know some of the ones that I've chosen, I cannot wait to talk about.
Mm. Yeah, no, I still have to pick one more
Yeah, we
for
got
next
well.
month.
I mean, next month we got some great ones lined up. I think
Yeah, so
three of them I've seen. One of them, both neither of us have seen it, and what I don't know which one you're gonna choose, but
uh
I'm almost hoping it's one that I haven't seen, but you have, and like kind of like how a la Best of the Best,
oh,
which
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, because
that's
okay,
supposed to
the
be.
yeah.
I thought it was gonna be a terrible movie, but then I teared up a little bit because it was a great movie.
Right. I mean, just for backstory is I think yeah, it was like 80s 90s like martial arts film. I think that was my month as well.
Yeah,
And I had picked Best of the Best because it's one of those movies that I grew up with, and I knew how awesome it was. I knew how great it was. Uh, but I didn't like say anything to Rob about it. And then he watched a trailer for it, and the trailer did not do that movie any favors. Let me tell you. And,
no,
it was
it
like
was
it was like the most generic, like 80s like martial arts film trailer you've ever seen. Um, just like really poor like editing, and you really didn't get a sense for the movie, or the kind of the emotional depth that it was going to have. And so Rob's like, oh man, this is gonna be garbage. It's like, oh, I can't wait. Like thinking like it was gonna be kind of like maybe like on par with like Samurai Cop or whatever.
Which is a
uh,
great movie too, by the way.
in its own right, in its own right.
Yeah.
But I think we watched Best of the Best together, right?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Yes. And so we start watching it, and then all of at the end of it, Rob's like, "Oh my god, this is a really good movie." And I was like, "I know."
It's like, why didn't you tell me? It was like that Chappelle show skit, like where he's talking about like Arsenio Hall getting so mad because the cheese is so good. It's like, why the hell didn't you tell me the cheese was so good? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, but no, like I wanted him to be surprised. And I mean, a lot of people I know they, later down the line, because there are sequels to Best of the Best, but they're not as good as this, or like filled with emotional depth, because they go like that kind of cheesy like action movie thing.
yeah,
Where I think the sequel, the direct sequel to the first one is they like there's like this underground fighting illegal fighting tournament that's being put on, and some of the fighters from the original team are either doing it for the money, or they're kidnapped, and like one of them, I forget which one, but they get badly beaten, like almost to the point of death, or actually they did die, and so like the rest of the team like going undercover, with the addition of Daehan, who for some reason now speaks perfect English, but
yeah.
um yeah, they kind of go like that cheesy 80s like action uh kind of route, where it's just like all like punch 'em up action, as opposed to like really like in-depth story, or like really complex character development and stuff, like in the first one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So um
But yeah, it's I enjoyed that month a lot.
mm,
That's the best. To be because what we did that one, we did Bloodsport. We
mm.
did was it we did Roadhouse that month? Or was that Machismo month?
I think that was Machismo month.
I'm trying to think the other ones we did for that month. But like
I think we
both
did
those months.
Karate Kid too. I think we did Karate Kid.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did Karate Kid. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that of the movies from that, I think it was from the Machismo and 80s 90s martial arts movies. I think Karate
Mm,
Kid was the only one that I had seen personally. Like I had personally seen. The
mm,
other ones were all new to me. So
mm.
and I was so pleasantly surprised by Best of the Best. That movie is so good. Yeah, the way it ends too. It's just such a
Yeah.
touching
No. Yeah.
ending.
It gets me every single time.
Yeah, I was just like, why? This movie is. I'm not like
Uh,
bawling, but like there's a couple of
yeah.
tears that.
Yeah. You get a little misty eyed, and it's like man, who's cutting onions? It's like
Yeah, but they were like, unlike with like Wind River, they were happy tears.
yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I remember we were talking about it. It's like Wind River is not like a movie that you have to be in the mood for. It's like you have to mentally prepare yourself.
Yeah,
It's like
it's great.
I'm gonna see. Yeah, it's a great movie. Don't get us wrong. It's a great movie, but it's just he's like just be if you're gonna like show this to somebody, it's like be prepared to have your heart ripped out.
Yeah, I was just. It's just there is one moment of like happiness in that movie, and it gets ripped out right away from you. Like
Hmm.
yeah, because I watched that with Andy, or I ended up finishing that with Andy, and I was like,
Yeah, no, I
okay,
had watched it prior, and then like Rob was almost. I came over, and then Rob was almost finished with it, and I was like, okay, and I really didn't want to watch that movie, like especially that scene again. And so, but then Rob was almost done. It's like, oh, okay, I'll watch it with you.
Yeah.
And so,
And I had to stop and like I needed to grab a drink because I was like, this is awful.
yeah,
This is
it seriously was. Yeah, and
and
I mean, and it's funny because Eric, a friend of the podcast, he was one that recommended it to us, and he kind of forewarned us, not exactly spoiling anything, but just like, oh, it's such a heavy movie. It's like, oh, okay, all right, and we just thought that it was because like the character that Jeremy Renner plays, the main character, he goes through like this tragic loss of his daughter, so we thought that was what he was talking about. But it's like, nope. Or you like the heaviness, like because the girl that is murdered, like you see like the reaction of the father and the mother, and like the mother's like beside herself, and like she starts cutting her arms or whatever, and
I was like, oh Jesus.
I was like, oh god, that poor family, and but then nope, that ain't it either, and it's just like, oh geez, what else?
Yeah, I was like, man, I mean, this is already like a pretty rough movie, but I'm like, it's something I haven't really like seen before in a movie.
Right.
And I was like, and then it just kept getting darker and darker, and I was like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
god, oof. But yeah, that's one. That's a movie that like it's not like, hey, you know what? I'm having a great day. Let's watch Wind River. It's like
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and even Eric, he when he showed his wife, she said that was really good, but then she's like, "Why did you show me this movie?" It was kind of like that reaction.
well, I said that movie should have won several Oscars, and the fact that it didn't,
Oh
I
man,
think
yeah, and Jeremy Renner should have gotten an award for his performance. Oh my
him
god.
and Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. You kind of forget that they're Avengers, which is amazing. And but yeah, it's funny because like I sometimes get a sense for like artists. Um, I remember I was talking to this kid I knew a long time ago, and it was just about the time when like Adele and that class of singers was coming out. Um, and after I heard Adele's first album, 19, I was like, oh, Adele's gonna be a huge hit. And
Oh yeah,
she's
you
gonna,
knew it right away.
you knew it right away. And this kid was, he was like, oh, like maybe, I don't know, I don't think she will be, but he was all on like the Christina Perry train. I don't know if you again, it's like Christina who, exactly.
Yeah,
But
no
but
doubt.
for to maybe jog your memories, like she had that one really popular song like Jar of Hearts or whatever, a heart
Yeah.
or something. Um, but it's just like, yeah, it's like after that one song, it's like you never heard from her again. But Adele, like she's been constantly been putting out like great music, and so
I can't think of a bad album she's put out.
exactly, yeah, neither. And I love 21. 21 was
Oh,
amazing.
that's probably her best album.
Yeah, and I mean,
But
I'm not just talking about like Rolling in the Deep or Someone Like You. Like, no. You gotta listen to the entire album. Like,
the
Turning
entire
Tables is
album.
great. Um, what is the other one? There's another. There's another song that I really like, but like, yeah, you have to listen to that entire album because it is just amazing. But yeah, similarly, the first time I saw like Jeremy Renner perform, I think it was on an episode of House. Uh, it was definitely before Hurt Locker because I know everyone's like everyone kind of Jeremy Renner came on like the radar when everyone watched Hurt Locker, but I remember he did an episode of House before the Hurt Locker, I believe. Um, and in his performance, I was like, oh my god, this guy's gonna be big,
Yeah.
you know. And he did actually get some note, he was starting to come up. But after a string of misses or not spectacular successes, is more of a, I think, apt phrasing. You know, he kind of diminished. I mean, he was still lucky enough to get like that spot, you know, in Marvel as, you know, Hawkeye, you know, which I think was his like saving grace because it like kept him like within the public consciousness. Um, but yeah, like I knew like right away that he was going to be a great actor, and I think Wind River it's a shame that, you know, again, I know it was super heavy, but Wind River should, yeah, that should have been like his launching pad into like, you know, into, you know, top
Superstardom.
tier, yeah, superstardom.
Well, and like I said, and both these characters, it's unfortunate because the only thing that they're going to be known for is Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say anything bad about like comic book movies, because obviously, like you and I both watch them, and we both like them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the fact that like he's only going to be known for that, or like that's it's Hawkeye, yeah, the guy from the Marvel movies. Like no, he's been in a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Elizabeth Olsen. That the stuff that they've been in has been really good. Um, I mean, yeah, they have a few. They definitely have like misses here and there, but you can definitely see the acting talent that both of them have. And Renner, he was deemed the franchise killer. It's like there was stuff that like he was supposed to take over the franchise, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh well, it didn't quite work out or whatever. Like the movies that he was in,
Mm-hmm.
didn't get like you had the Bourne Legacy, which is a great movie, and he did a great job in it. And I would have
Right.
liked to see him
I think
more.
the Achilles heel of the Bourne Legacy was maybe pacing and editing. Because, you know,
That's
like
not his fault.
there's like last scene that just kind of goes on and on and on, and you know, finally at like when you get to the end, it's like you're not even sure if that's the end.
Yeah, well, it's like I said,
It just kind of
that's not
stops
his
like
fault.
so it just stops like really abruptly.
Yeah, not his fault though.
Yeah, not his
Then you
fault.
have, he was supposed to kind of take
Oh,
over
the Mission
the
Impossible.
Mission Impossible series. Now he's become one of the characters in the Mission Impossible series, which
Yeah,
I love to see.
supporting, but supporting though.
Yeah, he's a supporting character, but I think that was probably more of Tom Cruise's doing. He's kind of taking over as the producer, I think, or
Yeah,
what he's
executive. Yeah, he's executive producer. Yeah, that's his baby.
yeah, which is
Um,
fine. I'm totally
so.
fine with that. Like, but I'm glad that Jeremy Renner is a part of that series, as he
Mhm.
should be.
Right, because
Um,
I mean, because like what is it, Ghost Protocol? That was like completely set up for, you know, Tom Cruise's character Ethan Hunt to be, you know, basically become like director of, the IMF, and
yeah,
for, Jeremy Renner to like step into the Tom
yeah,
Cruise Ethan Hunt kind of role in the organization. But for whatever reason, you know, Tom's like, no, I changed my mind. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's Tom Cruise, and he has the money, and he's gonna be, he's gonna be the one, nearly exclusively producing this thing. So.
yeah. And there was like one other thing that he like was supposed to like take over from, and I'm drawing a blank on that because I think there was like three movies or three franchises that they were trying to get Renner to be kind of taking over the role,
Uh huh.
and I can't remember the third one. I could be wrong, but like,
Mm.
the,
Yeah, but at least, yeah, those two are like the two biggest ones.
yeah, and it's just it's kind of a shame because in all those stuff he was a great actor,
Mm.
and Wind River really showed off his acting chops. The guy like,
Oh yeah. Oh man, he crushed it. He
um,
absolutely crushed it.
so
And actually, and yeah, and
I
like
pretty much
the Aaron Cross character in Born Legacy, I think has so much potential to for growth, and it's such an interesting
absolutely.
angle. It was such an interesting angle too, because as opposed to like the perfect Matt Damon, who just kind of gets MK Ultra into becoming like this ultimate assassin. Aaron Cross's character, he suffers damage from like battle, like he suffers brain trauma, and then he undergoes like this experimental treatment that kind of like puts his brain back together, and
Yeah.
and like what is it, like kind of half of the movie was like him trying to acquire more of this drug, because he like have to kind of take this pill like every hour, and like supposedly that's like some sort of like treatment to keep the repairs permanent or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's like the kind of like there's in the Born Legacy there's like like a ticking clock element.
Right. And there's a lot of drama involved with that.
Yeah. And so like I would have liked to seen that explored a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Because of course it also ties into like the issue of like the VA and how soldiers are treated, especially those like who endure like physical harm.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of depth, depth in that well there that they could have drawn from, but I guess we'll never know now.
And I don't know if there's going to be any more in that series, because the last Bourne movie left kind of like a big cliffhanger. And I don't know if they're going to do anything else with it. That's kind of the...
Right. Oh yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but
I know at least with the Mission Impossible ones, I know they're currently working on it right now. Like, because there's supposed to be like 3 more movies that are already like funded, that they're filming right now.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is never gonna give up that role. He's because he's a vampire too. So,
like I said, an absolute crazy person, but goddamn, he's a good actor.
Yeah. It's funny because I heard that he went it was after he did Interview with the Vampire that he kind of went all like 6s and 7s, as the British would say.
Yeah. It's very possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I like all these characters. I love talking about like a lot of these like actors and movies, and I don't know. It's one of those things. Like there's quite a few things that like get my ears perked up and get me excited, and obviously like, I look forward every week to be able to talk about a different movie and kind of share our thoughts on it, and hopefully maybe someone that watches that's watching us is like, hey, I've never thought of that movie, or they or like, or it's like I don't know about that movie, but maybe they didn't like it, and then they listen to us and they're like, well, let me give it a second shot. And I certainly hope that's the case. And it's even been fun kind of when we've brought on other people to talk about movies with us, having them sharing their thoughts. And like my dad had some interesting stuff with the movies we've seen with him. Santa Claus has had some good movie discussion points. Dan the Man, with him bringing up the movie that we did watch with him, Predestination. Now, what a movie! Spells and all.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, spells and all. Yeah, because again, I know we kind of cultivated a certain type of reputation for ourselves, but let it not be said that that we don't enjoy good story, and that's what all people should want is a good story. They don't, people shouldn't be concerned about whether or not the main character is representative of their specific either gender or group or subgroup. It should be about the story. It should be about whether the actor can portray the character in an entertaining way, in an engaging way.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't care. It doesn't matter what color the character is. It doesn't matter what female or male or
that movie Predestination was like full. That it was full of spells. It was full of spells. But like I saw what is it? I knew they were there, so they weren't a problem. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the spell. And so, okay, but then, and so I was able to enjoy the story.
That should be Exhibit A for people that are trying to make a movie about, trying to highlight transgenderism.
Yes.
That's the movie. Exhibit A.
Yeah, that's the movie. Yeah, that's how you do representation. Like there was that movie that Scarlett Johansson was supposed to be in, playing that transgendered man who ran rub and tug.
Yeah, well, also a really good actress too. And she doesn't get enough credit
Yeah, I
either.
know her looks sometimes get in the way, but yeah, she's a good actress too. Um, but yeah, like she was set to play transgendered man.
Right.
Possibly giving more light to people who identify themselves as transgender. But no, because she's a cis or aka normal
How dare we like not
normal
have someone
woman.
that's actually this thing to play the
Yeah,
role?
like
It's
a
like,
normal woman, and so there's this supposed outcry of masses for probably
no,
three guys with a bunch of accounts on Twitter, um, without profile pictures. And so they made this huge sting saying like, oh, why can't you hire a transgendered man, or yeah, transgendered man to play the part? It's like, well, one, point out the transgendered man actor, and then two, are they as big a name as Scarlett Johansson?
well, and
What is it that you really want? Do you want more stories like that of representation, or do you want representation?
exactly, because the thing is, people are gonna. It was the same problem when she was in Ghost in the Shell too. It's like, okay, well, you're all yeah. People are trying to make money to and they not only the money, but people are not gonna if there's some like new actress that like no one's ever heard of. Not a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people are gonna go see that movie. But you have Scarlett Johansson as the top billing. Oh, Scarlett Johansson's in a movie? I like Scarlett Johansson. I'm gonna go see this movie. That's how you get people. That's how you get eyes, and that's if you're trying to make money for a movie, that's why like certain movies got top billing with A-list actors. Or in the case of this thing, if you want your cause or whatever to have more eyes on it, it is through the lens of film or TV. You get the
Mm-hmm.
top billed star. You get them to play these roles and do their job in acting, which is kind of the problem that Bryan Cranston, who is no right winger at all, who the whatever role he was, one of his more recent roles where he played a paraplegic, and
Mm-hmm.
there's all this uprising like, well, why can you actually get a paraplegic to play that part? It's like, he pretty much says like, it's fucking acting, you nitwits. It's like that's the whole challenge of an actor, is to play the part that yes, I am not handicapped, but I'm playing this character who is. So
Mm-hmm.
get over it. It
Yeah,
is.
and it's like, and what's the fucking problem? Like the character was like a multi-billionaire.
Yeah,
It's
and
like, and okay, so you feel sorry for you're supposed to feel sorry for this paraplegic guy who's a fucking multi-billionaire.
yeah, it's like that's what I'm saying. Is like, you get the guys that are, you want to have someone that can play the part, and if
Mm-hmm.
possible, you want to have them to be A-listers, or at least recognizable names. Like, oh man, I'm going to go see that movie because I know that guy is a great actor, or that's a great actress. So I know
Yeah, I mean,
it's
yeah.
gonna.
Let's okay. Yeah. To that point, let's take um. I know this is before like the huge like representation or whatever, but let's say uh, that movie Last Samurai, another Tom Cruise movie. Let's say instead of Tom Cruise, they got that guy who was in Samurai Cop to play the lead.
Good
Who the
lord,
who
that'd be an
who
awesome
the
movie.
who the fuck is gonna go watch that movie?
Nobody. It was. The guy's not a great actor. That's the other thing. It's like, see,
Exactly,
Tom Cruise is a good
and then
actor.
let's say everything else was the same except for that casting. You know,
Yeah,
it's like, oh, like, well, it's like oh, well, let's say in this alternative universe, there was like this cry for oh, there's too many A-listers, we need to let up and comers have their shot too. And so they're like, okay, fine, we'll get that guy from Samurai Cop and we'll put him in, we'll give him the role that we were going to give to Tom Cruise. That means not a lot many people are going to go see it. That means, what is it? That means if everything else was the same, if all the other casting was the same except for Tom Cruise, then we would never have known the awesomeness that is Ken Watanabe, or Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yeah,
The two
both
Japanese actors.
amazing
They're
actors.
great. They're amazing. They're amazing actors.
And I see that's the other thing too, where it's like, okay, you have these movies that you have obviously you have your top bill like A-listers, like your Tom Cruises, your Scarlett Johanssons,
Hmm.
whoever it is. And yeah, then you're gonna also show like, okay, these guys who are, yeah, they're not in the lead, but they're great actors and they can play these parts that you have set up for the movie. And then
Hmm.
but like I said, you're gonna get more eyes on the movie, and then you also get to highlight some of these other great actors who, yeah, maybe they're not, quote unquote white. You got to get rid of the straight white cis whatever, whatever language that they want to use. But it's like you get eyes on these other great actors that like you would have never seen had you thrown some, Joe Blow nobody, that it supposedly represents the character. Um, you would have never seen that movie because of that. But now you have all the eyes on them, and now you get to see these great actors, and then those guys are going to get more work because, like, hey, that guy's a great actor. I want him in my movie. And I think because of the Last Samurai, Ken Watanabe got a lot of work, and in big movies.
Yeah, I mean, same deal with
More. Oh my god.
Hiroyuki Sanada. He
Yeah.
was in one of my favorite, at least at the time, one of my favorite sci-fi series, called Helix, and he was like one
Oh,
of like the leads. Yeah, he
I
was one of
totally.
the leads, and that show was amazing.
That was.
They kind of jumped the shark for season two, but
Had potential. Had great
yeah,
potential.
had great potential,
And it
but
wasn't because of his character that like was the reason the show like kind of crapped apart.
yeah,
But
no, he wasn't the fault of that show tanking, but yeah, like Hiroyuki Sanada, he's amazing. And then
I mean,
he has more opportunities now too, because then he goes off and now like he gets to be in like the latest Mortal Kombat movie.
yeah, exactly. And then you have, like I said, Christopher Nolan used Watanabe in like what, three of his films, and he was a big
Yeah,
part of it. And I would that's that's what's really great about it. I mean, I'm kind of excited that like a little bit that obviously we watched like Parasite and Burning, and
hmm
I know we're gonna watch Minari at some point soon too. And obviously like there you normally like those type of movies would end up getting remade here in the West with like kind of American actors in some
hmm
form or fashion.
yeah, a la
But
Old Boy.
I'm kind of happy that they didn't do that in that case,
Hmm
just because I think we get to see it kind of talking about like the whole representation thing. It's like, okay, great, you now we're highlighting these guys that are from Korea, who are Korean actors who are fantastic actors. I don't know their level of like if they're bilingual at all, like as far as like being able
hmm
to speak English fluently or whatever.
hmm
But like if you're looking to say, hey, you know what, that guy that was in Parasite, one of the leads, like he's amazing. I want him in my movie. And maybe if he does speak English, it's like, okay, great. He's got another shot. Um, but yeah, it's just I get tired of like I'm so tired of seeing like this person and this person like taking over these roles that should go to a black guy or an Asian guy or whatever. It's just like, yeah, but the thing is like
Yeah,
who are the
gender bending and race bending is it's like the lowest common denominator
yeah,
in my
like I said,
opinion.
it goes back. You get the best actors you can get. You write a damn good story. It doesn't matter what it is. If you want to talk about like some gender bending, social problem or whatever, and but if you write a good story about it, you know what? More than likely, you and I are gonna watch it, just because hey, it's a great story and it has great actors in it.
Right. Oh, and just to circle back onto a point with Ghost in the Shell, it's just like they're like the outcry was like, oh, why couldn't you cast a Japanese actress? And it's like, well, have you even seen the original
The whole point of Ghost in the
the
Shell, like
original movie and or the anime? It's like It's like that character is ambiguous. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
she has a Japanese name, but she has like crazy Western features. And also
bingo.
the whole point, yeah, and also the point of like the idea of Ghost in the Shell is just like it doesn't matter because it's like your mind inside of a container essentially. So
Bingo.
you could put
Everything
so you
bingo.
could put a Japanese person in like a mostly like with some sort of like avatar with like Western features,
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter. It's about like the spirit. It's about it's about the person who you are, not like what you're wrapped in.
exactly.
But again, people just don't look deeply enough into things, and so they'll let they let things just go. They don't care enough to actually look, or they're not even fans.
Well,
Like I mean,
a
even
lot of
like yeah,
times it,
the creator of Ghost in the Shell, he's like, when he heard that Scarlett Johansson was cast, he's like, oh yeah, that's a good cast.
yeah,
That's the
exactly.
guy who that's the guy who fucking came up with the idea for Ghost in the Shell.
He's not a white guy, by the way.
Yeah, who's not a white guy.
And it's like, yeah. So yeah, it's ridiculous. Like I said, movie directors, producers, find the best people, tell a good story, get the best writers,
Hmm.
tell a good story, and honestly, like if you do that, that's how you're gonna get people to watch the movies.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
Oh, I
like
mean,
who cares about like how we need to have this much percentage of this and like we need to make sure it's like who gives a fuck.
yeah, it's crazy. They're saying like they want to fight systemic racism, but then they're advocating for laws for systemic racism. It's like, oh, you have to hire like you have to have 50% women and 25 30% black and 15% cripples and on and on and on and on and on.
This is going to create a new trend, I think, when it comes to like making like movies. We're going to
Hmm.
see um a whole new dynamic with people who are tired of woke Hollywood, and
Uh,
I think we are gonna go back to a time where it's yeah, maybe we don't get like some of the highfalutin, you know, action slash, kind of like with all the CG and all that stuff, like the AAA movies. But we're gonna go back to a time where we're gonna have good acting in movies where it's a lot more dialogue focused. I think we're gonna be
well,
back to that type of era.
even to the point of like the spectacle. I think we've come to the point where everything has become equalized. The bar to entry has lowered so much that it's really just like a quick little hop and you're through. I mean, given technology like with like green screen and even just like doing like practical like explosions and stuff, it's all of those resources are available. So
Yeah,
and I think we've gotten to the point like where like the studio system is just like it's failing. It's and they're desperately trying to adapt, but it's just not working because they're too big. It's just like asymmetrical warfare. It's like those big studios, they're too big to be nimble, so they can't navigate the ever changing terrain of like the battlefield. And also like they got to the point of like the big banks where it's like, oh, we're too big to fail, so they have to be constantly subsidized, and all this foreign money has to be poured in, a la why China owns a huge chunk of Hollywood now.
which is
um,
scary. It's really
yeah, which is
scary.
scary. I mean, just before we filmed this afternoon, I heard about John Cena apologizing for acknowledging Taiwan as a country.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, to placate the Chinese. I mean, he didn't like full on say like, oh, oh, I didn't mean to say that they're a country. I meant that they were uh, an independent province of China. He didn't go that far, but and so again, like he pissed off both sides. So it's like, oh, he pissed off the Chinese for not saying that that Taiwan is a part of China, and he pissed off the Taiwanese by like saying that they're not a country.
Well, and it's funny. It's gives even more reasons for why our friend David thinks that he's a huge tool. And it's like, well, that
Mm.
certainly seals it up for me.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, just like I mean, what is it? Yeah, because he was promoting his the latest Fast and Furious movie that he's gonna be in, and yeah, he said like, oh yeah, Taiwan is gonna be the first country you can watch the new Fast and Furious movies. It's like, oh, it's like China's like, oh no, you didn't. You know, it's like, hey you. You know, it's like he's like, you apologize right now.
Oh,
And so and then he did, and it's crazy because he did it in Mandarin too. You know,
sure.
which he learned because I don't know, like he's I think the article that I read said like, you know, he learned Mandarin so he could better like promote like you know, when like wrestling events and stuff. You know, I guess, but he, you know, put it to good use this time to, you know, to get on his knees and suck China's dick. Um,
Yeah.
but he didn't finish. He didn't finish them because he didn't say like, oh no, Taiwan's a part of China.
Oh, what a tease!
I know he didn't finish. He didn't. You know, he didn't finish them. You know, so
Not like LeBron James, but
yeah, no,
like,
no. LeBron always finishes. You know, he always finishes.
uh, but yeah, well, I don't really have anything more to say. I just about that whole kind of idea of with like the movies that we've been talking about and kind of the whole subject of I guess we've talked
Yeah,
about it
no,
on one
this
occasion.
is a very open ended discussion. We were like we were running and gunning. We were going through different topics,
Yeah,
so
but I
that's
just like I
fine.
said, I just feel like we're gonna go back to a time like kind of like how it was all like like kind of like in the the 40s 50s and 60s where like the movie doesn't necessarily have like a huge budget per se, but you're
Mm,
getting the best actors into like a situation, you're letting them kind of like um make the movie happen like through their acting,
mm, right.
where you get like good writing, good acting, and you get characters dialoguing with each other and making something happen. And I for one am kind of looking forward to that.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even in like that movie we watched this week, yesterday, the dialogue was great, and I miss the like banter, uh, you know, uh, in movies, and I think that's why I liked that series Suits so much. Is particularly in the earlier seasons, they had some of like the best banter. You know, it's just there was a playfulness and a stingingness to their dialogue, and just like it was so great.
Like I said, one of my favorite shows is Psych, with and
Oh
that,
yes, another show with good writing.
it's well written, it's fucking hilarious, and like I said, it's actors, characters having fun dialogue with each other, and it's like it's funny and it's fun and it's a good ride.
Right? It's like suck it.
But yeah,
No, you suck it. Suck
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's like it's like I've heard it both ways. Like, no, you haven't, Sean. Those two together are so just fantastic. It's just
Yeah,
it's
Dooley Hill and
James
yeah,
Roday.
what's it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, those two. Yeah, those. Yeah, the chemistry is also. Yeah,
I've
chemistry
listened
also too. Uh,
because I occasionally listen to Michael Rosenbaum's podcast,
mhm,
Inside Michael Rosenbaum, and those two
mhm.
were on there together, and it's just like God, they're so funny. Even though they're not like acting, they're just like together as people
Yeah,
talking. They're
they're
fucking
ripping off
hilarious
each other.
together. They have great chemistry together. They're
Mhm.
they're fun to listen to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just quickly to tie everything up, just really quickly. I don't know if you know, but Marvel dropped like a teaser for the new movie
The Eternals.
Eternals,
Yeah, I heard. I haven't
and
seen it yet.
yeah, and people are just
Are they
yeah,
losing their
people are
shit
just like
over it?
not people are just
Oh,
like
how
not
dare
giving a
they?
shit about this movie. What was it?
Well, oh, sorry, because I heard like a lot of people are like upset about it, and
Uh huh.
I don't know the reason why. I just heard people were like upset for some reason.
Right. Well, the teaser trailer is not a very good one. It gives you like no sense of the movie. It's like they don't even like tease at like who the villain would be. Um, but yeah, it's just like I couldn't give two shits about this new movie that's coming out.
Mm.
I'll in all likelihood go. I'll see it. But I really don't care for this movie. I don't care about the characters. Plus, like, it's an ensemble cast, so it's like, they're in one movie. They're gonna, introduce like, they're doing the Justice League thing. Because like, if when at the end you see like this line of characters, and there's like at least 10 of them, and so it's like all these characters are gonna be in this movie, and like you think that you're gonna give them adequate enough screen
And
time
are they gonna
to.
pull like a DC and like they're just like, oh well, fuck it, we're just gonna do throw everyone in at once and like not
Yeah, no,
do what they
exactly,
have to do.
exactly. So it's like, oh god damn, you had a winning formula. Each individual character gets their own movie, and then big, team up at the end. Um, but yeah, I guess they're going the DC route. Um,
Because that's been
but
a winning formula.
right, yeah.
And I heard
But yeah,
I
I
have
mean
no
this.
idea the idea of the truth behind this, but I heard that Disney is trying to buy DC too.
I heard that rumor too.
Oh man,
Um,
please
God,
no, don't do it. Don't sell out.
I know. Like, I want there to be competition. I want there to be, competing factions, for my eyeballs and my money.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, but yeah, like the Eternals movie has been wrought with uh, not scandal, but some grumblings. Because they raised and gender bended like so many of the characters. Like Selma Hayek, a woman, is now going to be playing the character. Again, I'm not a huge Eternals fan, so I don't know, and I don't really give a fuck. But the fact that they gender bended this character is what's annoying to me. Um, but this traditionally male character in the comic books by the name of Ajax.
Oh, I had heard, and I don't know anything about the Eternals either. I'm not a
Yeah,
Marvel guy per se,
right.
but well, we'll see. I'll probably yeah, like you, I'll probably end up watching it too. Just it's like I'm already kind of like semi invested in this new phase, so
I mean, me not so much. After Endgame, and for sure after Spider-Man: Far From Home, I was just like, yeah, I don't have to watch every single Marvel movie now.
yeah,
I'm emotionally like, I'm emotionally detached from Marvel now. Just like I don't, because like all of my favorite characters have like had their arcs and like they're done, and so it's like, okay, whatever.
yeah. Well, why don't we get into our movies? You can give people a synopsis. I will be back in just a second.
All right, on with the movie review. Okay, as is customary, I will start off with the synopsises for both movies. This is the synopsis for Yojimbo. A nameless ronin, or samurai with no master, enters a small village in feudal Japan where two rival businessmen are struggling for control of the local gambling trade. Taking the name Sanjiro Kuwabatake. Oh, no. Yeah, Kuwabatake. The ronin convinces both silk merchant Tazemon and sake merchant Tukemon to hire him as a personal bodyguard. They artfully set in motion a full-scale gang war between the two ambitious and unscrupulous men. Let's see here. And here is the synopsis for Fistful of Dollars. It might sound familiar. The man with no name enters the Mexican village of San Miguel in the midst of a power struggle among the three Rojo brothers and Sheriff John Baxter, when a regiment of Mexican soldiers bearing gold intended to pay for new weapons is waylaid by the Rojo brothers. The stranger inserts himself into the middle of the long, simmering battle, selling false information to both sides for his own benefit. I thought Rob would have been back by now, but yeah. Yeah, of course, Yojimbo, directed by Toshio Mifune. Oh, no. Oh, sorry. It's been a long night, folks. What can I tell you? But yeah, Yojimbo, directed by Akira Kurosawa. There we go. And starring Toshio Mifune. It's a great film. It's I think I said at the top of the show that definitely easily in my top 10 movies. And Toshio Mifune is actually one of my favorite actors in my top 5. Okay, there's Rob. So
Andy was saying, Yojimbo is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. Now I haven't seen every Kurosawa film, but as of this moment, it's my favorite of his. And this is one of the better roles for Toshiro Mifune. And now we talked about this movie too in December, Sandro, which is essentially was a continuation. And because this movie Yojimbo was so popular, they brought because Kurosawa was working on Sandro, and he kind of rewrote the script a little bit to include this character, and kind of made it like a sequel. So both those together to me are it's a great kind of duology of films, which kind of like all Godfather 1 and 2. I can't separate them. They're both really fantastic. But one thing I was noting, going back and watching both these movies again, because we were initially supposed to talk about these in December, but we didn't. For whatever reason, we weren't able to do that, so we're getting to it now. And a lot of people say, like, the big thing with these movies is Fistful of Dollars is there was a whole like lawsuit between the two movies, or between Toho and Sergio Leone. I always kind of fumble his name a little bit.
Sergio Leone.
Yeah, which I watched Fistful of Dollars first, like when I was a kid. Like what I was talking about, like my grandfather is a huge fan of a lot of these spaghetti westerns, and so I grew up watching these type of movies, or definitely watching this movie. And when I watched Yojimbo for the first time, I was like, holy shit, this is the same fucking movie as Fistful of Dollars. And I felt like I've been lied to my whole life. But actually in reality, when I went back to watch these two movies again, now I think Yojimbo is the better film, but I see some slight differences where I don't think that this is a complete ripoff of Yojimbo for Fistful of Dollars. To me, like last week when we talked about the outrage, that to me felt like more of a kind of like ripoff of Rashomon, where it was whereas here's I don't really think that was Leone's intention, is to steal Yojimbo and like not do his own thing, because there's times where like he changed the story quite a bit, and what was it like? And he even said, like, during like the legal dispute, he was saying that he what was he saying? Like, it was based off, he took inspiration off, there was inspiration based off of Yojimbo. He did say that. It's like, but he also took inspiration off of some other westerns that like Shane and My Darling Clementine. There was a few books that he was talking about, like as being part of this. Like I think it was Red Harvest and Servant of Two Masters, which is
Mm-hmm.
also he kind of derived his script from. And yeah, there definitely are scenes and stuff where it's like, yeah, it's definitely you see Yojimbo and it's the same thing, but there's just enough of to me like maybe percentage wise there wasn't enough difference, but I see
Mm-hmm.
enough of a difference where it's like I don't think this was like a anything malicious on Leone's part. I think he
Mm-hmm.
honestly thought he was making a fairly um new movie. Like he wasn't like steal. It was his of his own creation.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess maybe like they ended up settling out of court. But yeah, and I like I said I like both these films. I
Mm-hmm.
but one thing I was talking to you about this on this weekend where I the reason I like Yojimbo more than Fistful of Dollars is because the main character, Sandro versus the man with no name, is I felt like Yojimbo had much more. It wasn't based off of money. Like he actually had a heart for the town that he like had come across. I mean, yeah, he came upon there by chance. Because we kind of see, he's just a wandering swordsman, and he threw a stick up in the air in the direction it pointed. That's where he went, and it just happened to come upon this city, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where like he comes upon the events of what's going on in the city with like you have the farmer fighting with his son who leaves home, kind of like all
Mm-hmm.
out the son, and then he ends up going into the city and learns the story of the city, and like it's this kind of like death ghost town almost. And one of the scenes
Yeah.
because
Well,
first that
I mean, for more biblical metaphors, the city is like the plant that gets strangled up by the weeds or what's it like the thorny tendrils. And that's obviously the gangs, because they're the ones who are like who are choking the life out of this small village, because they're creating like this all this danger that respectable families or whatever, or business people don't want to hang around, because all they do is cause trouble and violence. And so they're literally strangling this small village.
but like I saw Sandro's actions not as like something like oh I can get ahead in this town. It's like I feel like when he heard the story and saw what was going on, I
Hmm.
I think he genuinely wanted to help and like restore that town.
Right, and
Whereas
that's where I agree with you in that I think that that even though he passes himself off as someone who is not immoral but amoral. That's the word I was looking for. He passes himself as this amoral person who's kind of just like I'm just in it for the money. I'm just trying to kind of like that Django Fett line from the prequels, where it's like I'm just a simple man trying to make his way through the universe.
yeah,
Kind of this. He puts off that same kind of air. But deep down, I think he is a decent man. Not a good man, but he's a decent man. And I think he's the type that doesn't abide, or wouldn't abide, wrongdoing, and to a greater extent evil.
yeah. Well, because and we also see that in when you watch Sandro too, like it's kind of the same thing. Like it just it happens by chance, but when it comes upon him, like he's like he could have just let those guys that he like because the opening scene is you have these people that are trying to like restore their their jurisdiction and they're trying to get rid of the corruption,
Mm-hmm.
and he could have just let those people die and just like slept it off, but he's like yeah, that's stupid, you're gonna get yourself killed. And he intervenes because he knows that's the right thing to do. um and I that's why I really like both those movies. I like this one over Fistful of Dollars because the man with no name, like he's not really doing anything necessarily out of the kindness of his heart. I really think he is like money is his like he's a typical roguish character, which is great, and he's a great character. It's
Hmm.
just it's not he's not doing anything out of like the kindness of his heart. I'll just say
Well, yeah, which, then yeah, you would agree then like he isn't he isn't a decent man.
no, I don't think he's a decent man.
Yeah. Whereas like well Sanjuro, like yeah, he's not a good man, but he's a decent man. But the man with no name, he's not even a decent man.
No, like I said, he's kind of like he's an anti-hero. I mean, he's not the bad guy of the movie.
Right.
Um and he ends up like kind of helping the town to be, rid of like the bad officials, but he wasn't doing it like out of like the kindness of his heart. It just happened. He was trying to do it like to gain the most amount of money, and
Hmm.
he kind of did that.
Right.
Um, and now you mentioned something too. Like there were some things where there were certain parts of Fistful of Dollars that you actually liked more than Yojimbo, and I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Right. Well, particularly the ending. I liked more than the ending of Yojimbo.
Hmm.
And again, just not in terms of theme, but just uh, but in terms of execution. Like the whole scene where the whole part where like Sanjuro, after he escapes from the gang, and he's hiding out in the temple, and you have I think like the scenes where he's like kind of recuperating and like getting back his skill. I don't think that's wholly necessary. I think that could have been accomplished um when the casket maker comes, and you see him kind of like recuperating and like and like kind of practicing, but then the casket maker comes and brings him like the provisions, like, oh well, yeah, the other, the innkeeper, he's the he actually got captured or whatever, and like I think that would have been more like efficient use, because you don't necessarily have to show him like going through the recovery process, but you can make it more like an understood thing. Um,
But
and I think,
you think in Fistful of Dollars that scene particularly was done better with the man with no name and his recovery process?
yeah, because you understand that he's like recovering, and and when the casket maker in Fistful of Dollars comes in, you already like, and he kind of says like, oh yeah, the innkeeper, he got captured and is being tortured. It's like you understand that the innkeeper was like the one to bring him the supplies, um, and help him during his like recovery period.
Okay, all right. Was that is that the one thing that you say that you like better, or is there more?
Yeah, no, cause yeah, but also what I liked about Yojimbo was that opening scene with the farmer and his son, and kind of giving you the taste, kind of hinting at Sanjiro's decency, where he kind of like humps, kind of harumps at that kid and his attitude about not wanting to be a farmer, and kind of shirking his responsibilities or whatever. Um, but like the movies are so similar that it's kind of hard for me to say like which one I like. Oh, okay, you're helping me. You're jogging my memory here a bit. I like the uh, the scene where he helps the woman and the
The
family
family.
escape. Yeah, the family escape. I liked in Yojimbo a lot more than in Fistful of Dollars, because there
I
was like there's a cultural element to it that like in Japanese culture, like you have to like you like, if someone does you like a more than a solid, you grovel, and you grovel hard. like to the point where like you don't care about anything else. You want to make sure that this person understands how grateful you are to them. And I think that scene was better context wise in Yojimbo than in Fistful of Dollars. Because like in Japanese culture, they're like in the dirt, like on their hands and knees, like prostrating themselves in front of Sandro. It's like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like all the while, the gang, like who I think was controlling that house where that woman was being kept, was on their way, and he was like, hurry up and get out of here. It's like it's like, I don't want your things, just hurry up and get out. And like there was like some real like kind of tension that those men would have arrived before that the family was able to escape.
Right.
As opposed to in Fistful of Dollars, where they were grateful and they kind of groveled, but they were still able to get out of there relatively quickly and before the men arrived.
Well, so because you talk about how like you kind of like the ending of Fistful of Dollars a little bit more. I think to me, I disagree a little bit because I did like Yojimbo's ending a little bit more because just as mysteriously as he appeared in the town, he
Mm-hmm.
just as mysteriously vanishes again and kind of just goes back to his wandering ways. It's so it's
I mean, it's kind
and
of it's still similar to Fistful of Dollars because I mean, okay.
yeah, I mean but it's more like I don't. I mean, yeah, you're right. They are very similar, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was a little bit better done in Yojimbo. Um, I will say that I think it was kind of because obviously you're in the case of um Yojimbo versus Fistful of Dollars is that obviously Yojimbo it's a samurai movie essentially outside of like the one character one of the bad guys
I
who
had
has
a
a gun,
gun.
which is like, oh crap, that guy is dangerous, and not
Mm-hmm.
only does he know how to use the gun, but he's also a very skilled swordsman as well. So very dangerous character. Obviously, in Fistful of Dollars, everyone has a gun, and it's just that happens that the man with no name he's a very skilled gunman. But so they had to change up that last scene where he's
Right.
fighting Ramon, who is kind of Ramon is the alter ego of what's his name in the Yojimbo. It's like Unataro, I think, or so, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Um, but you had to change it up a little bit, and that's where he kind of creates that bulletproof like metal vest
Mm-hmm.
that he kind of gets the idea from like
Yeah, the armor plating. Yeah.
armor plating, which is also faithfully shown in parodied in Back to the Future 3.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the idea is like where it's like because how Sandro gets back at like all those guys, he kind of comes back and he's kind of essentially cuts everyone up, like he destroys all the bad guys, and this way like in Fistful of Dollars, it's kind of like he plays mind games with them. It's like, wait, we're shooting him like dead in the chest. He should be dead, but he's
Mm-hmm.
not dying. He keeps getting up,
Mm-hmm.
and it fucks with all those characters, and so he's able to kind of get his comeuppance. So in that sense, I do like that scene a little bit more, and or at least
Mm-hmm.
I like how they adapted the idea from going from a samurai sword movie to obviously a western.
Yeah. Western gunfight.
Um, so like I said, it's both movies are really great. I love both of them. I don't really have any other like scenes that I would necessarily talk about. The one thing
Mm-hmm.
that I think too, and this is no knock on, and this actually has happened in all the movies we've watched this month, where it's like, well, to me, Toshiro Mifune's acting is so good, both in like because I love Paul Newman, but
Mm-hmm.
Toshiro Mifune outakted him like hands down, and the same thing here. I felt like and I love Clint Eastwood. I think he's a great actor, great director. But Mifune
Mm-hmm.
really, I think, knocked it out of the park. This is one of his best acting performances, and one of the things that we talked about this in Sandro too is that one of the because Kurosawa, who's normally very hands on, very controlling, he let
Mhm.
Mifune kinda just because he knows how good of an actor he is, he just kind of let him go and let him do his thing. And
Right.
he just gave him a few notes, like, kind of like, he wanted to make, Ushitora, um, kind of like a snake-like character, whereas
Mhm.
Mifune was more of like a dog, kinda like a or a wolf. And so Mifune, you'll know if you watch the movie, you'll notice there's times where he kind of like kind of shakes off, like he's shaking off fleas, like he's a just kind of like a stray dog that's just shaking off fleas. He
Mhm.
does that from time to time, and that's like where in the case of the man with no name, Clint Eastwood's character, he doesn't really have any of those like little like nuances that he does outside of maybe like I guess the one thing is like his the way
Cigar.
he the cigar and like kind
Yeah.
of that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but I just I think Mifune kind of outacted Clint Eastwood on this one, and that's not to say that Clint Eastwood did a bad job. That's not what I'm talking about here. It's
Mhm.
two Titan actors, going at it. But even
Let them fight.
in the case of like Seven Samurai, and although he's not the main character in it, but Mifune did better than his counterpart in the Magnificent Seven, or
Mm.
and with Hidden Fortress and Star Wars, there's not really much of a comparison other than it was just one movie inspired the other. There's not
Right.
really, but
Yeah.
like in
Because
those two movies,
what Toshio Mifune's character isn't a direct adaptation of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
right.
So.
So it doesn't really apply there. But in the other three weeks that we've talked about, like I think Mifune did a better job than his counterparts, and that's not to say that his counterparts did a bad job either. It's just I really think that that guy is a massive A-list star. That had he had he come, done more in the U.S., I think I really wish he had taken the role of Obi-Wan because he would
Mhm.
have been a massive, massive star over here.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And yeah, it's just unfortunately because he was in a big name American movie, Red Sun, with Charles Bronson, and he's amazing in it. And despite his accent, he's great. Um, and just but obviously that movie is not as big as Star Wars was. So we're not talking about like the Red Sun franchise.
Yeah. Right.
um,
Absolutely.
but I don't really have anything else to say about
Yeah.
these
Neither do I.
movies. Well, should we give our ratings, Andy?
Yeah. Let's indeed.
Why don't you go first?
All right. I'm gonna give Yojimbo a 4.5.
Ooh,
I'm gonna give Fistful of Dollars. I'm gonna give Fistful of Dollars a 3.5 to a 4.
okay. So we're not too far off from each other
Yeah,
on this one.
depending. Yeah, it's just depending.
To me, Yojimbo is a pretty much a perfect movie. It's a
Uh huh.
5 star for me on that one.
Yeah. I mean, again, yeah. Whenever obviously good movie. Whenever I like, downgrade it or like I rate it less than like what you would, is merely based on technical things. Nothing to do against like
No,
story, but
no, no.
more like
I know that. I'm just
yeah,
saying, like,
yeah.
I
But yeah, I'm just
just,
clarifying for the audience.
yeah, I have no knocks on Yojimbo at all.
Mhm.
It's a 5 star for me. And I think we're in near agreement on Fistful of Dollars. It's a 4. Um, for it, I would
Yeah.
give it 4 stars because it
Mhm.
and like I said, yeah, like I said, the spaghetti westerns are for whatever reason are derided, but this is if you're gonna watch one, this is one you want to watch. I mean, it's really good, and I would
Mhm.
recommend watching all of the uh, Man with No Name trilogy. So a few dollars more, and of course the highlight, the big one, what everyone really talks about is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I mean, the soundtrack to that movie is used so much. I mean, it's been used in all sorts of like other like westerns and
Yeah. I mean,
kind of movies.
commercials or
Yeah, it's been
when
used
you
a
hear
lot.
that, wow, wow, wow.
Well, because I think it was the same. This I'd have to look this up, but I believe it's the same musical composer in all those movies. Ennio Morricone, who
Mm.
did a soundtrack for all those movies. He worked pretty closely with Sergio Leone in his movies, and his soundtrack. I mean, he's a brilliant composer. I really like his movie soundtracks. He does a great job.
Mhm.
But yeah,
All right.
that's all I got to say. So I guess that'll be it for tonight.
Okay. All right. Yeah, there you have it. That's our review of Yojimbo and A Fistful of Dollars. For Yojimbo, Rob gives it a 5. I give it a 4.5. For A Fistful of Dollars, uh, we both give it a 4. These are great movies. Um, you know, I would definitely suggest starting off with the Yojimbo, just so you know where just where where Fistful of Dollars comes from. Um, but yeah, both movies are great and highly recommended. So do yourself a favor and check them out.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're great, and I'm looking forward to Leftovers month next month. And if you're following along, we're gonna be starting off with The Professionals, starring Lee Marvin.
There you go. All right. That'll bring us to the end of the show tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Rob had a good time.
I had a great time. Anytime I get
Yeah,
to talk about movies, I'm having a great time. So
yeah, absolutely.
my wife
Yeah.
is here, and she thinks she didn't have a great time, but that's she
Well, no
wasn't.
one cares what she thinks, or no one cares about her feelings, so it's okay.
She's
Yeah,
giving
don't forget.
telling you you're number one, Andy.
What was it?
She's telling you you're number one.
Oh, right back at her. All right, that's it. Don't forget to check out the library of other content we have: the Circular Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to check out our social media accounts: LetterboxD and Twitter at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circular Jerks Podcast.
I gotta update the letterbox. I haven't written in a couple weeks, so I gotta update our stuff.
All right, for sure, for sure. Yeah, that'll do it for us tonight. We thank you for joining us, and come back
Next week.
Yeah, next week, and we'll do it all over again.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Good night.